Hey, everybody. So I apologize for the late start tonight, but I was having technical difficulties with some of the video that I wanted to share with you tonight. So it has taken me a second to get live, but I am live. I am live right now and want to be able to share this information with you. So I am going to put this on my regular page as well. While y'all get in here. So I'll give it a second while you guys get in here. Um, give me one sec. Say hi when you get in here so I know that you are here. So that I know you are here. Let me know, let me know, let me know. All right. So I want to have this conversation tonight around this because it really hey Macy, how are you? Hey Teresa. So y'all heard me go live yesterday, and I've put up a post, and I even put something on TikTok. What's on tonight? So we are talking about hey Linda Marie. So I want to message you because I'm like, is never mind. I believe I know who. I think you changed your name, but I think I know the profile picture. But anyway, um, okay, so I want to talk tonight about the reaction, the response of Black and brown men, and even some Black women to the R. Kelly verdict and this idea around canceling him and his music, and some of the posts and the memes that have been shared. And let me just share this in all transparency with you guys. I went back today and I rewatched Surviving R. Kelly on Netflix. Have any of you guys watched that documentary that was on Netflix that came out in January? How many of you guys have actually seen Surviving R. Kelly? If it was something bad, it wasn't you. No, it wasn't bad. But have you seen it, Teresa? You've seen it. Who else has seen the documentary? You haven't? Okay. So I really didn't want to go back and rewatch because as a survivor, it is sometimes very challenging to watch things like that and to have conversations like this because it can bring up old stuff, you know? But this is what I said to myself. If those women could come forward and tell their story and share what happened, then I could watch. It's the same reason I watched the Khalif Browder story, is because if he could live it, I could watch it, right? We need to be able to understand. I was talking to a friend of mine today who happens to be a Black guy, and I called him today because he had shared. You've seen the one post that's going around, right, Teresa? It was painful to watch. You've seen the one post that's been going around that's talking about this CNN interview that D.L. Hughley did in 2019 when he says, where Chris Cuomo asks him, should he still listen to R. Kelly's music or Michael Jackson's music, if they're convicted? Should you still listen to their music, right? And D.L. Hughley says, yes, the same way that we still sing the national anthem, knowing what America has done, is the same way that we can do this. And my response to that is like, initially, first of all, two wrongs don't make a right. Like, if you are saying that, we shouldn't sing the national anthem, or if you are saying the reason we kneel before the anthem is because we recognize the things that America has done wrong, then why would you make that comparison, right? I don't know if you saw on my page or not today. There was a Black guy who commented, and when he had shared this post on his page, and it happened to be the same post that I had seen, where somebody said, well, you guys are still eating Subway, right? After Jared was locked up for like child pornography and paying children for teenagers for sex. You're still eating Subway, so I can still listen to R. Kelly, and thought it was a joke. And when I pointed out that sexual assault is not a joke, at least it shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be something that we make jokes about. This individual actually replied and said, gosh, you're just too serious. You guys get mad over silly stuff. And my response to that was, if you think rape, sexual assault, confining women, hitting women, if you think that is silly stuff, well, let me just say this. A, he's no longer my Facebook friend. And B, oh my God, I feel sorry for any woman that you date. Like, why have we become so desensitized to each other and so disconnected that we think that there's anything funny about sexual assault or rape or, the things that these women experienced? Hey, Almighty. So, that kind of ticked me off. And so I wanted to take a look at this. And so one of the things that I want to talk about, though, is this culture around rape and sexual assault, especially as it applies to Black and brown women. This is not something that is new. This is something that was designed specifically by the country, and was acceptable. Like the laws, in slavery, after slavery, they specifically excluded, they omitted Black and brown women in rape laws. They only applied to white women. Okay. And so when you understand that Black and brown women have been sexually assaulted and raped in this country, strategically, first of all, right? When it comes to slavery, when you think about that, her children were considered slaves. They were automatically property. So, while our men were measured based on their strength and their ability to do work, women were measured by, their hips and their ability to give birth. And so that's the history of Black women in terms of our bodies and our safety and our security in this country. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, that's what makes it even more hurtful when you see Black and brown men who are not taking this opportunity to support us. So regardless of anyone else, right? R. Kelly did these things. Okay. And the justice system got it right. There's no defense. There's no defense. And we should not be deflecting, right? We should not, I don't know what I just did to my hair, but we should not be deflecting, and trying to kind of bypass the things that he did. That's not what we want to be doing. So what I want to do really quickly is I want to show you a clip, because we've talked about like the people who knew what was going on, and the fact that no one did anything. And I pulled out two clips today that I really want to speak about. Okay. So I'm going to share this first one with you.
If it were white children that were being molested by a Black man in this case, I'm sure Rob would have gone to jail.
So you heard what he said. If it were white women, we just finished talking about white woman syndrome last week, right? When it comes to missing and murdered women. But again, if this were white women who were raped, assaulted, confined, starved, beaten, R. Kelly would have been in jail the first damn go around, right? With the 21 counts of child pornography. It would have been happened, right? But it didn't. And why is that? Well, she gives us a little bit of a glimpse into that. So this clip is 2 minutes long, and I want you to listen to it, because the first person that you hear talking in this clip is a sergeant. And these are clips from Surviving R. Kelly. Keep in mind, this is a police officer that you're hearing from. And listen at what he admits to noticing way back when, like 30 years ago. Listen.
Kelly there on a regular basis, and these were high school girls, freshmen, sophomores. I couldn't tell exactly, but I knew they were students at the high school. His nickname,
hold on.
right across the street from Kenwood High School, I would see R. Kelly there on a regular basis, and these were high school girls, freshmen, sophomores. I couldn't tell exactly, but I knew they were students at the high school. His nickname is not Pied Piper for nothing. Pied Piper's whole purpose is to bring the young people to him, to follow him, to admire him, to listen to him. And so he's good at it.
The first time I saw R. Kelly, I was probably around 12, maybe 13. We would hang out at the McDonald's in Hyde Park.
I was 14 years old. We'd always see him come in by himself, but leave with some student.
We'll meet girls. Robert would, I would a lot of times make people know that R. Kelly's here.
You would see the Ford Explorer pull up. There were a bunch of girls in Kenwood jackets and high school clothes. You would see him and his group of guys come in and kind of hang out. Mr. Kelly wants to meet you. And you look over and he does like a little nod. If you're the girl that smiles back, that's when he starts talking to you.
Public announcement, R. Kelly, born into the 90s. He was on the rise. He knew that he had the singing career. He was blowing up, and who wouldn't want to be with a superstar? He liked high school girls. He could influence them more. They were more impressionable.
He tries to slide in that space where girls don't know better. They can't necessarily spot a predator.
Listen to this.
People will say, well, why didn't anyone notice? The answer is that we all noticed. No one cared because we were black girls.
She said, everybody says, well, why didn't anyone notice? She said, the answer is, we did notice. Everyone noticed, but nobody cared because they were black girls. Nobody cared because they were black and brown girls. And there are so many places where this intersects from history to present day. When we look at the over-sexualization of black girls, one of the things that I noticed that kept coming up in the documentary today is that they would talk about these girls, they were fast. Did any of you all ever hear that language growing up? Because I did. I heard, you won't be a little fast ass little girl. How many of you guys heard that language about fast girls, fast ass little girls? Hey, Danye love. How many of you guys heard that verbiage growing up as if it is the girl's fault that someone else is sexualizing her? Yeah, Macy said I was called fast and it led to assault. Right. So we have a history in this country of blaming girls. Blaming girls. And let me just be clear, folks. These were 12, 13, 14-year-old girls. Sometimes when they first met him, they were 16, 17-year-old girls, right? And I don't care what you say. It is not these girls' responsibility to make sure that some grown-ass man does not assault them. You heard about fast girls all your life, right? And so, and the other part of this that really gets me about this is, so his tour manager, when he talks about R. Kelly and Aaliyah, there are moments where he's smiling when he talks about the two of them. Right. So Danye says, told you about that ignorant old lady who told my parents when I was 6 or 7 years old that I walked like sex. How does a 6-year-old walk like sex? How does a 7-year-old walk like sex? And I said this, so I called up my black guy friend of mine today because he'd shared the meme about D.L. Hughley. And I said to him, do you understand that what you are communicating to me and to black and brown women is that you don't care about us, at least not more than your misogyny? The same way that racism is ingrained in this country is the same way that sexism is ingrained in this country, that misogyny is ingrained. This is a white patriarchal country. Gender and race keep intersecting. And we can't discount that and let it become like not part of this conversation. So black men understand that that when you share these memes, or when you share this meme about Priscilla Presley and Elvis Presley, They met when she was 14. They did not get married at 14. They got married at 21. That's when they got married. And by the way, it doesn't even damn matter. The man is dead. The man is dead. And there's a whole different culture that existed back then than exists right now. Hugh Hefner is dead. And by the way, do you want to know, like, the only time that I could find that Hugh Hefner was even accused of anything inappropriate? It was when he was accused of collaborating or conspiring with Bill Cosby. It is so frustrating that sexism isn't as dirty a word as racism, because they are both so dangerous. So here's the thing that I really want Black men to understand, is that Black and brown women have been the least protected always. Black, brown, indigenous women have been the least protected always in this country. And yet we are the backbone. And yet we are the backbone of our families, of our communities, of our corporations. We are the backbone and the least protected. So at a time when a man who for decades tormented many of us, right? Tens, dozens of them, right? Dozens of us. At a time when he's finally held accountable, it is not the time for you to deflect and bring up white men. It's not. It's time for you to say, oh shit, you know what? This is a problem. This is not okay. We are happy. And you know what? I can find a new playlist for the family barbecue. And let me show you, let me just share with you another piece of this where it becomes very difficult for people. Music is a universal thing that speaks to all of us, right? Music is very important to us. And so some of you, you graduated to I Believe I Can Fly, right? Some of you got married to Step in the Name of Love, right? We've had these songs that he created that have become part of our everyday life and part of our culture. R. Kelly catered to, while his music crossed over, he catered to Black people. And we feel very passionately about those songs and that music that has become so integral and part of our lives, right? However, you cannot separate. He would not have been able to do what he did to those women had he not been R. Kelly. Did y'all hear that? He would not have been able to do. So when you ask me why cancel his music, because his music is what lured the women in. His music is what gave him a position of power to do what he did. Period. And so for me, yeah, I'm good without it. I'm good without it. And if nothing else, it says to us that we matter. It says to us that we matter to you, Black men, more than the Good Old Boys Club does. And so, right. So, but God forbid we show our frustration. We're dismissed as angry Black women. Right. It's like this. So, women, when we go to the bathroom, we take someone with us. We walk through parking lots and we look over our shoulders. We have mace on our keychains. There's so many things that we have to do because we never feel safe. And what upsets me the most, and this is what I said to some of the Black men that I've talked to about this week, is that what you don't understand is that if you are a male, and especially right now, I'm specifically talking to Black and brown men, but if you are a male that here's your guy friends tell sexist jokes or cat calls females or calls a woman a bitch simply because she doesn't adhere to his advances. If you're a guy that has watched your dude hit up on a girl who is more inebriated than she should be, and she cannot even give consent, if you're the guy who isn't stepping in those situations and saying, nah, bro, this is not the way to be, right? You are part of the problem. I call it rape silence, right? So your rape silence is just as dangerous for women as white silence is for Black people. They intersect. So racism and sexism intersect in terms of systems and the ways that they hold us down and things like that. Now, never get it twisted. Sexism has not done to women what racism did to Black people. There was never any chattel slavery for women, except Black women. So when we talk about sexism and racism, it's understanding that there's a place where these two intersect. And at the place where they intersect is the most dangerous, detrimental place, and it's at the expense of Black and brown women. We are at the place where it intersects. We get to deal with both. Exactly, Tiffany. Right. Right. So when Black men say, why are you so upset? Because I'm saying I'm still going to listen to R. Kelly. It's not that you're saying you're still going to listen to R. Kelly. What we hear you saying is that you don't give a damn what he did to dozens of us. What we're saying is you are choosing music over the health and well-being of your women. That's what we're angry over, not a fucking playlist. We're angry that we still don't matter, that you still won't rise to the occasion and protect us, that you still won't stand up and defend us, that you will deflect and talk about white men instead of talking about us. That is what we are angry about. That is what has us upset. That is why we're frustrated with you right now. Because at some point, when are we going to matter more than something else? When are Black and brown women going to matter more than, whatever the white guy's doing? When are we going to matter more than music? When are we going to matter more than your job? When are we going to matter more than your church? When are we going to matter more than, when are we going to matter more than something else? That's what we're upset about. That's what has us angry. You bring up two dead white men, Hugh and Elvis. Why? Why? Why are you bringing them up? And a third white man who don't even own the company you're talking about. Jared ain't making no money off of Subway. Subway don't belong to Jared. I'm just saying. And for people who say, well, what about Harvey Weinstein? And what about, listen, the Me Too movement just happened. Those guys just got their charges. R. Kelly has been at this shit for decades. Come on, y'all. 30 years. 20, 30 years. We've been waiting for R. Kelly to be convicted. It's been what? 3 years for Harvey? Hey, right? I'm asking. When we talk about, and do y'all know, like I went looking today for rape statistics, and the Uniform Crime Database has actually changed how they track them and how they report them. There was a lot that was missing in that information that I wanted to be able to pull out for you tonight, right? But there's this great article. I'm going to give it to you. I found it on the American Bar Association's website. Give me a second and I'm going to give it to you. So this article talks a lot about the history of racism with regard to Black women in this country. It talks about the fact that, Black women were omitted from the rape law, right? It talks about the fact that James Marion Sims in 1845, who was the father of modern gynecology, began experimenting on enslaved women without their consent and without any anesthesia, causing untold suffering. Of course, that happened under the racist notion that we don't feel pain, which Black women to this day, we still run into it. Why do Black women have higher rates of maternal mortality? Because people don't think that we feel pain the same way. Come on, guys. I'm going to share this with you. So I'm going to read this part to you. James Marion Sims had Black women who were completely naked to perch on their knees and bend forward onto their elbows so that their heads rested on their hands. And this is while he experimented on them without any anesthesia. After 30 operations and 4 years spent experimenting on a 17-year-old enslaved woman, he had finally, quote, perfected his method. Only then did he begin to practice on white women to whom he freely gave anesthesia. What he did was legally permissible because enslaved women were considered no more than their master's property, and they were not allowed autonomy over their own bodies. Right? One of the most common causes of lynching back in the day was the perception that white women had been approached by Black men. Right? Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Henrietta Lacks. We could talk about all of this, but I really wish, and it's funny how the Black guys are not showing up on this live tonight. Some of them who are generally on like my racist lives, y'all ain't here tonight because you don't want to hear what I've got to say, right? In 1930 in New Orleans, a 14-year-old African-American girl named Hattie McRae repeatedly fought off a police officer attempting to rape her. And in response to her bravery, he shot and killed her. What they said in reference after that was no longer the property of a few white men. African-American women and girls became sexually available to all white men. I don't want to, like, there's a ton of statistics. I gave you the report. You can read it for yourself, right? Wow, really, Tiffany? The first time you learned about this was in a master's program? But if we teach you this in school, they'll say we're teaching critical race theory, not actual history. I think what people don't get is that white women have always been held up to be this delicate standard. And the goal, right? Like a white woman is so precious, a Black man can be lynched for even looking at her or speaking to her in the wrong manner. But Black women, Black and brown women, though, used and abused by everyone. And, you know, people say all types of things about us and where we are. But at this moment, what we are looking for is for the men who say, I'm good with canceling anyone who terrorizes and rapes and assaults our women. I'm good with canceling that person. I don't care what kind of genius they had in their music. I don't care what America has done, because that's who I desire to be. Do you understand that? No one else was responsible for what R. Kelly did except for R. Kelly. That's it. There's hundreds of people who played a part in America's racist history. It's not just one person. Like, that's a whole country. They are not the same things. And, you know, he deserved to be held accountable for what he did. And do you know what's crazy, you guys? It wasn't when people saw still photos of him having sex with a 14-year-old. It wasn't when people saw a video of him peeing on her, peeing in her mouth, using her for sex acts. People, let me tell you how fucked up the Black and brown community is when it comes to this issue. And y'all aren't going to like me saying this, and I do not care. Y'all, people took that video, made bootleg copies of it, and sold it at the fucking flea markets around Chicago and across the nation. Black people. We took a video of a 14-year-old being sexually assaulted by a grown-ass man and made bootleg copies like it was a fucking Tyler Perry movie, and then still bought his music. What is it that has us disconnect from the truth about our musical icons? What is it that makes us refuse to believe what we see with our very own eyes when it comes to the rape and the sexual assault of our women? What makes us do that? What makes us deflect from the truth about who these people are? And I don't call him a monster. I think that's ridiculous. R. Kelly's not a monster. He's a man. And sometimes men do monstrous things. Sometimes men do monstrous things. But see, if we call him a monster, then that means it doesn't happen that often, because there aren't that many monsters in the world, right? A monster is something that you look under your, under your bed and under your closet for, but he wasn't under beds and under closets. He was in the fucking McDonald's across the street from the high school. Stop calling people monsters. Stop calling people, this person's just this, they're just crazy. No, they're not. They are human beings. They are people and committed these acts. Stop giving them a pass as if this wasn't a human choice. I looked at his tour manager today and I literally wanted to just stomp the living shit out of him, because he said, yeah, Tiffany, I will, but on another broadcast. And the reason why is I don't want to deflect. So like if I talk about homophobia, I'm taking away from Black women one more time. And I don't want to take away from us at all. Like, do I know that rape occurs across all ethnicities? I do. But today I want to talk about Black and brown women. I want to talk about women of color, because we deserve this moment. We deserve for people to finally fucking understand what has happened to us and what continues to happen to us and to our little girls, even today. From the missing white woman syndrome, right? And how that shows up for our little girls, to all of this. Right? It's really important. Maybe I feel this way because I'm a survivor, right? And I know so many that are. And it's a very yucky place where you already don't feel safe, and the people in your life that are supposed to make you safe don't. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can find something for you. And I don't know that I can. But if I can, nope, I can't. Not tonight. It's on Spotify though. Guys, I'm going to see if I can play something to see if you can hear it. Okay? I'm going to try to watch the comments. Let me know if you can hear this or not. So I went on a cruise back in 2010, and I was on this cruise with 5 women. And over the course of this 4 days and 3 nights cruise, we discovered that 4 out of the 5 of us had been sexually assaulted. 4 out of 5. We were all Black women. and I was sitting on the back of the cruise boat, watching the water behind us, and I wrote this poem. I used to write. Yeah, I get it, Tiff. Yeah, and Tiff, I will, because it's something that I have talked about briefly. But let me see if I can play this for you and if you can hear it. Okay, so type a yes if you can hear it for me. Um, Give me a second. Really, don't make me do that right now. Okay, you are gonna make me do it right now. Give me a sec, guys. I'm gonna get there in just a second. Dun, dun, dun. Give me a sec. Okay. Um, 1 4. Okay. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, so here we go. I just did that. Thank you. Go. Okay. All right. So, oh my Lord. Sorry. I'm trying to do this and it's not doing it. I'm going to post it after this broadcast is over. How about that? So that it stops acting crazy on me. How about that? Because I couldn't get it to work. But anyway, I think that the reason that I wanted to cover this broadcast is to say to the men who maybe you're watching and you just don't want to talk about it. Maybe you're watching and you just don't want to speak about it. Understand that the same cognitive dissonance that we get so upset about when it comes to racism and white people. I had a black guy today say to me, well, I have 5 daughters and 6 sisters. I love black women and I'm still listening to R. Kelly. And I said, and what that sounds like to me is I have my best friend is black. I don't see color. All lives matter. And I'm still flying my Confederate flag. Like that's what it sounds like to me. It's the same thing, just with a different subject matter. Does everyone understand what I'm saying about that, about the correlation between those two things? It is crazy to me how black men can so clearly see racism and the issues around it, and yet they cannot clearly see their own misogyny and their own sexism when it comes to their women. Right? And it's the same thing. If we want white people to explore their own cognitive dissonance and to be allies to address the system that they created, black men, we want you to be allies for your women. We want you to hold your male friends accountable and, not be silent. Like if white silence is complacency and permission, so is rape silence, right? So is sexism silence. If you are not checking the men in your life, if you are not calling your boys out, if you are not saying shit when you know that a girl cannot give consent, don't shame her because she's too inebriated to give consent, because many of us have put ourselves in situations where we shouldn't be. Many of us have had one drink too many or smoked too much or whatever the situation is. But the thing is, we want to be able to require each other, right, to be the type of person that even if someone else put themselves at my mercy, even if someone else puts themselves in a situation where I can exert my power over them, that I choose not to, because that is the person that I desire to be. It's not about what the girl does. It's about the guy. And vice versa. So if the guy is too inebriated, girl, don't climb on top, don't put it in, don't do none of that. Like, no, like Y'all get what I'm saying? It's about us stop blaming victims and saying, listen, I am simply saying no, that it's not okay to take advantage of people regardless of the situation that they're in. And musical genius is not more important than the health and well-being of our Black and brown women. Right. If you want to be seen as the man, or even if you don't, like if you just simply want to be a man, step in. Step in. Because as dangerous as white silence is for Black people, is as dangerous as male silence is for women. It really is. We deserve to be seen and to be protected and to be valued more than your camaraderie, more than your good old boys club, and definitely fucking more than music. Find a new song, you know? So anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this subject tonight. I've had a long day with lots of recording and things like that. So I'm not going to stay on here any longer. I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to be back on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And going to continue to dig in. Maybe I'll have some more facts and figures for you on Monday. Maybe not. This is a really like heavy subject for me. And apparently it is for a lot of other people too, because there were a lot of people who chimed in yesterday and said, oh, I'm going to be on tonight, or, oh, I'll come on with you. And then everyone bailed. And so it's very touchy. Racism book club at KCS. Oh gosh, I don't even know that I want to. Anyway, it's okay. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to go. Y'all be amazing. Be like, be love. And Melody girl, I'm getting off of here, but hey, I'm getting off. I'm wrapping up 5 minutes early tonight. And plus I got to use the bathroom. So good night, Almighty. I will see you all on Monday night, probably before then. Have hard conversations and hold the people in your life accountable for their silence. It's the only way we're going to change things. It really is the only way we're going to change things. And things definitely need to be changed. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.